On this episode of the Parking Lot Podcast, we're going to talk about the future and Blade Runner 2049.
That's right. Absolutely. So T, we got a couple of good guests here today. I'm really excited. Today's a very special episode. Not only do we have two amazing guests, but we're actually doing this in person. This is the very first time Parking Lot Podcast is in person. And we've got 4 people in the house today. We got myself, Mo. We got T. And can you guys introduce yourselves?
L. Give my first name.
We got L, and we got
Muhammad.
And we got Muhammad. All right. Excellent.
I'm paranoid about this.
Right on. So, today we're going to talk about Blade Runner
2049.
Excellent. And so, this movie's been out for a little while. And
it's like, a year? It came out
October 6th.
October,
2017.
Yeah. So, it's been quite a long while. We've had a long time to digest it. I rewatched it recently. It's the first time I've seen it since it was in theaters. And right off the bat, I'm going to say full spoilers for this movie, for the original movie. And I just want to mention that this movie is a masterpiece ahead of time.
And we know that a lot of people didn't watch the original or 2049 when they were in theaters. And shame on all of you, but okay.
Yeah, you should feel bad for not watching this movie. And I'm not even...
Death Day beat this in the box office. The same week, there was nothing that came out in October 2017 that was as good as this, and everybody watched Happy Death Day instead.
Did it actually beat it in the box office?
Yeah.
Ooh.
This thing didn't even premiere number one the first. It did the first week.
Yeah.
And then the next week it was Happy Death Day. Happy Death Day, and then Thor Ragnarok, that gigantic piece of crap.
Oh.
Yeah. So here's the thing though. What do you guys think that this movie lost in the Oscars to Shape of Water? I don't think it should have.
Oscars is kind of garbage anyway.
Well, in some degree, yes, but at the same time, it won in every. It won every category that I thought it would. It won in special effects and cinematography.
Yeah.
The first time for Roger Deakins, thank God.
It 100% should have won Best Picture, though. There's no better.
Well,
movie.
It wasn't even nominated for Best Picture.
It wasn't.
So
but,
I can't really say that was. I can't really say I was too annoyed about that. But every award that it was nominated for, it won, and I was happy about it. Especially for Roger Deakins, because this is. If he didn't get nominated after his 17th time, I would that would just be ridiculous.
Yeah, it's just like Leonardo DiCaprio, right? You want him to win.
It's worse.
It's way worse.
It's way worse. It just sounds like a joke at this time. We're gonna nominate Roger Deakins and then not give him the award. He'll come so happy to the award show.
So Mo,
actually, before I get to that, funny thing. So Elle mentioned Ragnarok.
Yeah.
So leading up to the slate of 2017 movies, Thor Ragnarok was my most anticipated movie of the year. I was super hyped for this movie, and Elle really, really, really was into Blade Runner 2049. I had no faith in 2049. I thought they shouldn't have made a sequel to the original. I had issues with the original. I love the original, but I have issues with it. And so we kind of not made a bet, but we kind of decided
that each one would watch their most anticipated movie in theaters. So we went to and watched 2049 in IMAX, in glorious IMAX.
It was
amazing.
Yeah.
I mean, I tried to watch this movie on the plane, and I got through 3 seconds of it. I'm like, I'm not doing this justice, so I turned it off. And this movie only can be appreciated, I think, in either 4K or on IMAX big screen. There's no other way to watch this movie.
It would be a shame.
You would be missing out so much. You're doing yourself a disservice.
There's two. Do you know those audio box seats where it moves and rumbles?
I think that would be
a little excessive.
That would be
I think that would be a little weird.
Also, if you went to 4D, the 4D theaters in the States, where if there's water, the water comes.
At the final scene when does the Superman punch on you?
Exactly.
But anyway, so after we watched this movie, I really was disappointed with Thor Ragnarok. It's still to this day a sore spot for me, and I love Blade Runner, so I was 100% wrong.
And I was really anticipating Blade Runner 2049, not because I didn't really think it would be as good as the original. Or I didn't have any expectations. I didn't have that was high and lofty expectations, but I will say that I was more excited to be back in this world, and I was more excited that another Blade Runner movie existed, and that a director like Denis Villeneuve was taking on the project, and especially that Roger Deakins, the team behind it, got me really, really excited for the movie. And at the same time, I try not to build hype for myself around movies, but this was the exception. I was really, really excited for this movie. I watched the trailer every single day before it came out.
Damn.
I was like, I bought my ticket the minute that they went on sale. I bought the ticket and then I lost it, and then and then it was I was really, really, really excited for it, and it well, I'll tell you my feelings as we as we go.
So to do a quick recap, so this movie follows the original Blade Runner about 30 years later in the year 2049 in their universe. So replicants, the androids in the universe, they were outlawed and then they were brought back, and now they're like super subservient. So so now they're allowed on Earth. So there are replicants on Earth, which they weren't before. And our protagonist is Kay. He's a replicant who also works as a Blade Runner, which is one of those detective cops that like hunt down rogue replicants and retire them, which is kill them. And so the movie starts out that way. There's a bit of a mystery. He meets up with Dave Bautista, the actor playing a replicant, and
I don't want
jump in.
I don't want to cut you off.
Please do.
There was just one small detail. The replicants from the old movie are now outlawed.
Yes.
And now there's new ones made by the Wallace Corporation, which took the ashes of the previous corporation. The name escapes me at the moment.
Tyrell,
thank you. Tyrell Corporation.
Yeah.
And these replicants, they don't live for an infinite amount of time, but they are stronger and they're faster for the replicants. They're stronger and faster than the other replicants, and they're basically used as either for slave labor, but they do die at a preset time, and that is a worry for
the old ones, right?
No, the new ones.
The new ones still have a preset time, but it's just much bigger.
But it's a much longer lifespan.
Yes,
but it is still a long lifetime span.
And there were the Nexus 6, which were like the troublemaker models, which didn't have an end cap on their life, so they're still here 30 years later. After
they did have an end cap on their life. It was just a lot. It was just smaller. The ones from the old movie, right?
Those guys had 4 years.
Yes.
And then Rachel's model.
They made another. Yes.
Rachel's model.
They made another model, and then the jobs of the Blade Runner, the replicant Blade Runners, are to hunt down the other ones, since they're the only ones who can, take these guys on at a physical level. So.
Yeah. To make this a lot shorter, so Kay uncovers.
We made our protagonist played amazingly by Ryan Gosling.
Ryan Gosling killed it.
I think so.
Everyone in this movie killed it.
Everyone does kill it, but I feel like everybody kind of craps on Ryan Gosling because they feel like he either plays the enthusiastic, obnoxious, guy, or the suave, cool guy, or the the cold, calculating killer.
Yeah, like I was expecting too, like throughout the movie, when they went to that one guy, I thought he was going to be like, oh, I am the Blade Runner now. Not you. I am the Blade Runner.
I'm the Blade Runner.
Okay, considering that one of the people Captain Phillips is in this movie.
Barkhad Abdi is in this movie.
That would have been amazing. That would have been incredible. That really, really but there's a lot of subtle nuances in his performance that I really, really thought were great.
You're talking about Barkhad Abdi, right? The guy.
Exactly.
Yeah,
exactly.
the Somali actor, yes.
No, I'm talking about Ryan Gosling, where there's a lot of subtle nuances in his performance that I thought were amazing, and I don't think people talk about it enough. No, because nobody watched this movie enough. No. Last time I'm going to say.
He plays someone whose entire world and spirit is crushed really well.
Yes, and he can't show any emotion. He shows that emotion, but he knows that he has to hold back because of certain outside forces that can work against him if he reveals too much about himself.
Yeah. So they discover a bunch of bones. They investigate. They think that this replicant has murdered an innocent human woman who gave birth.
Well, the opening scene of this was actually in the original draft for the original Blade Runner.
Oh,
where it was supposed to just start off as one person coming into their house and checking on and just doing certain things, and then he notices that there is somebody in his chair, and he asks the person who he is, and he's like, "I'm a Blade Runner," and that person takes out the gun and he shoots that person who ends up being a replicant. This scene is the opening scene for this is sort of a mirror to that, not a mirror to that, but it's sort of a homage to that.
Oh.
Where Sapper Warren's character comes home, where Sapper Warren's character sees a cop car flying into his house, and he comes home and he finds Ryan Gosling's character. They talk, and at the very, very end of the fight, Sapper Warren says something like, how do you feel killing your own kind?
Yeah.
And he's just like, my kind doesn't run. He's like, well, you never witnessed a miracle. And then that's when Ryan Gosling shoots him. And it's a really epic scene because once he shoots him, even though the gun sounds ridiculous, he shoots him and Saffron Morton falls and the camera shakes because it shows how like huge he actually is. And that's a little subtle detail that I really enjoyed, that I really appreciated.
No, absolutely. So they find these bones and they're like, hey, this is with a pregnant woman who died in childbirth. And then I like that Kay's the one who figures out that she's got a serial number because she's a replicant. Mm-hmm. And they're like, oh my God, replicants giving birth. This is monumental. And then the cop lady, the madam, Joshi played Robin Wright. Sorry. Robin Wright decides to cover this up and orders Kay to cover up that and the rest of the mystery. And then the movie kind of goes forward as Kay is discovering more and more about this.
He starts pulling on this thread.
Yes.
More and more and more, and then he starts to really ask himself a lot of questions about who he is. What does it mean to be human? He pulls in the Wallace Corporation because he goes in there and lets them know that they found the bones of Rachel from the first movie. It was a replicant, the Nexus 6 replicant. And then they get all excited because Neander Wallace.
What's the actor?
Jared Leto.
Jared Leto killing it. Like
Jared Leto,
redeeming himself.
Honestly, I don't think that he needs redemption, but I do wish. If I have any limit, I have a few limits about this movie, and my one is that I wish Jared Leto was in this movie a little bit more because there was not enough for me to be. I mean, I thought he was great.
Yeah.
But I did want to see more of him because I do feel like a lot of his scenes were cut.
Again.
But I would wish that we did see more of him because his character was interesting enough that, and it was played well enough that he sparked some sort of intrigue within me.
Yeah, I liked him in this, but like watching some other stuff that he's been in, he almost plays the same character.
Oh really?
Like really? He not like the same character, but he kind of like acts almost the same. So like if you take a look at this, he's like very one-sided, like very crazy as Wallace, right? But then you take a look at Joker, he's crazy as Joker, and those kind of like a little different. But when he plays some serious roles, it's like there was this Netflix show that he was on, and it was like a kind of like a Yakuza movie, and it had him almost play the exact same character that he did as Wallace. Oh. It was just almost the same.
Like a businessman?
Yeah, businessman. Just very like his just mannerisms, his acting. It's just it's almost the same. And it's kind of like if you take a look at like some actors, they always play like Johnny Depp. He's always going to play that drunk sailor or that eccentric guy, right? Like, and I feel like he's going to be. They're going to make him play that character over and over again.
It's a good way to become a movie star.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah.
But you're going to be typecasted to a point, right?
Well, movie stars are kind of typecast. They're just typecast in a highly sought-after role that just paid to do it again and again, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that can be boring. I can imagine that can be boring for them. It is certainly boring as an audience member.
Yeah, like
one for them, one for you. That's what they say, right?
Like if you take a look at The Rock, right?
Yeah.
The Rock is like his movies so far throughout everything.
He's just The Rock.
He's just The Rock. It's just like The Rock. It played in the movie as a muscular, guy that does everything. It's like my buddy said. He's like, you have The Rock. He's this really big guy. Mm-hmm. But he's playing like a a helicopter rescue guy.
Yeah.
He's huge. So like he's huge. So he's in this helicopter. He's like, oh well, we're gonna pick up a patient. So we can't pick you up because The Rock is in as our pilot. He's too big. Because if we go on this helicopter's gonna crash. Because
he's too heavy.
Yeah, he's too heavy.
Not that. Come on, he's not that heavy.
Yeah, but pilots are very like light. And this guy,
like by design, like they're asked to. Like they're selected for their.
Yeah, but most are light. Then The Rock is probably like what 275, close to like 300.
Yeah, that would make that much of a difference.
Yeah, and the pilot, like a pilot is supposed to be kind of like short. He's just gonna sit in there like really scrunched up in like a clown car.
Well, he's got a custom helicopter. He's The Rock.
Yeah.
But speaking of wrestlers in this movie. The one that I feel like does is showing a lot of his stuff and showing that he isn't going to be typecast as Dave Bautista.
He kills it. I love him in every role. Like I haven't seen him in a ton of stuff, but I know some people say that he didn't do much as Drax. I love him as Drax, and I think he really, really like pulled out all the stops in this role.
This is the first time that he's like that I've seen him where he's actually really, really impressed me. I think so because I hated Guardians of the Galaxy, but that aside, this is for the few minutes that he's in this movie, he really, really, really impressed me. Like he was not Drax. He was not goofy. He was just playing this really, really broken down character, and it was really great. It was really great.
Well, size and his image didn't really define his role in this, right?
Exactly.
So you were actually looking more to his character and his acting and how he dealt with the situation rather than just being like a prop in the movie to fill in for a certain effect.
Exactly.
Although that does work a lot of times when it comes to typecasting actors. People come back again and again and again to certain movies if they know that a certain actor is going to be there because they know that they play it well. Yes. And that's how I think from like a business model, you want to see what worked before and then replicate it. It's not very artistic, but apparently it does work because at the end of the day, though, audiences grow and change. So let's say you've been watching movies for a couple of years. There's always like another generation after you and another market that grows out. Right. You know, just from the older generations is going to think, hey, that guy's pretty cool. Let's watch him too. Sometimes it doesn't work. Sometimes you watch an actor and it just doesn't feel right that they play a certain role. You don't know why. They go in and you're like, it takes a while for you. It's like having that one friend who's always goofy, and then all of a sudden, you know, he's talking to you about something like it's really serious and existential. At first, you're a little like interested. Yeah. But then if you get a sense that he's not in his element or her element at all, it's hard to stay there with him, right? Yeah.
But it's like a little different. Like if you take a look at like some comedians who switch into like serious roles. Like if you take a look, there's you see, you know, the guys that have done that, Robin Williams, Jim Carrey, they've gone from like, you know, slapstick comedy to like really serious roles, and like it takes a while. Like even Adam Sandler's movies are not great right now, but like you see some of his old stuff when he's playing a very serious role, and you're like, wow, this is actually like really good, because like he's been in there was one movie that he was in. It was I think it was like Remember Me or
Shrunk Love.
No, it was
Reign Over Me.
Reign Over Me. He played a very like a serious, kind of like a person kind of like having PTSD, and he did it really well. But we're kind of off topic.
We're kind of off topic.
Yeah.
So but it was a great. You know,
great tangent.
It made total.
This thing's gonna be all tangents.
Yeah.
Basically, yeah.
But so continuing, so he pulls in the Wallace Corporation. He goes there. He's like, hey, do you guys know anything about these bones? Can you tell me anything? Then they give you some exposition about that blackout, which is really cool. And then now we have Love, Wallace's top replicant, and now she's on the case, and now she starts following Kay on his case, and then Kay starts figuring out that there's this child that's born, and it's it was hidden, and it's just out there in the world, and he starts figuring out that it's him. Like he starts really, or at least everyone around him keeps telling him that he's special, that he's the one. He has the only memory that he really has, the implanted memory that he has a number that he finds on the tree where the body was found. And in that memory, he hid a horse in an orphanage, and he goes to the orphanage and he finds that horse, which is like, maybe those aren't implanted memories. Maybe they're real memories. Maybe he's the child. So that's like the big first shift in the movie, where he figures out that he's the special one. And what happens next? I'm trying to remember.
I think he goes and he tries to find. He goes and finds Deckard.
Deckard,
yes.
Well, yes. He goes to see the memory maker.
The memory
maker.
Oh yes.
And then he gets reprimanded by the LAPD, and they ask him, "What are you doing?"
Yeah.
He goes and does a baseline test, and he fails that baseline test. Yeah. Because that's what replicants do at the end of, I assume at the end of every job, they do a baseline test.
Yes. To make sure that they're not acting up.
To make sure, exactly. Just to make sure they're not acting up, and then he fails that baseline test, and his boss completely rips him for it
Yeah.
and asks him, "What are you doing?" And he lies to her and he tells him, "I found it." And she's like, "What does that mean?"
And actually, the cool thing is that scene right before that where he goes to meet Anna, the memory maker. So she confirms that memory is a real person's memory and not an implanted one, because she can tell the difference.
Yes.
And that's when he finally realizes that he is that special child. And I think it's kind of funny, his reaction. He didn't like jump up for joy, right? He was like...
He's completely torn up because he feels like something's been stolen from him.
Yeah.
He missed out on
either something stolen from him, or he understands like his life is kind of over, like he'll always be on the run, like it's a mix of all these all these different feelings, and he kind of like, it crushes him. And that's why he fails that baseline test. And I love the line she says, like you don't look like yourself on the inside. And this movie, every line is just like, pun intended, pregnant with meaning, right? It's like they never waste an opportunity. They never waste like a transition. Like if someone's going from one place to another, they'll use that to build the world or to build the characters. Every single line, every single action, every camera angle. Like this movie is...
Speaking of camera angles, like the direction in this movie it does so well to show the emotion of the characters. And for what I define as good direction is like the camera always has to be in the right place and always has to show something.
Yeah.
Like when he's talking to Joshi and he tells her, I found the replicant, I dealt with it.
Yeah.
The camera's on him because we have to see his
reaction.
We have to see how he's telling, basically lying to his boss.
Yeah.
We don't need to see her because her reaction, it doesn't matter until the very end, because like she has that sigh of relief and saying, you did a good job or whatever.
Exactly.
And also the camera angles and the direction of this movie also help to build the world, because there's a later scene in this where he walks through a radioactive desert, and the scale of that scene. The way that the camera is focused on that scene, the way that it's shot, shows this like the vastness of this world so well. That's what I loved about this.
It not only shows the vastness of that world, but it also, like, it was caused by the blackout. Like that was where the dirty bomb happened. Yeah, that caused the blackout. So he goes there, and it's like a slice of history of when the blackout happened. Like, this is the amount of damage that the blackout happened. That you have a whole like fully built modern city completely abandoned and covered in this like orange hue. It's just absolutely insane. But anyway, so continuing with that, so he fails the baseline test, and because he lies to her for the first time and tells her that he took care of the child, she kind of like covers for him, but she's like, you better get your act together in the next week, because you're in 48 hours, because the next baseline test, I can't help you with that. So he's like, I need to go on the run. I need to go find
who he believes to be his father.
His father, Deckard, right? And he goes, and then we never talked about Joy so far. Oh,
this relationship to me was really, really sweet. Honestly, I know a lot of people don't. I've heard a lot of theories about this, how Joy's character is portrayed, and how a lot of people thought it was sexist or whatever. But I really bought the relationship, because he is very, very isolated. Yeah, and he's very he doesn't really feel like he can relate to somebody, so he just wants someone to sort of comfort him. Yeah, and I really felt like there was a mutual love there, quote unquote.
I think there was no mutual love, and that's the sad part. But
yes, okay, I can understand that part too. I can understand that part as well. But
it's just like,
I bought their relationship, is what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, like I liked it because like he's very like. A very, kind of feels like a very straight by the book kind of guy. Yeah, he does everything methodically, and then when you see him, go with Joy, you see him that he's a little happy, and he kind of unwinds. He's something, right? Yeah, and
it gives him more dimension. He's not a robot.
Yeah, and he puts a lot more emotion in there. Yeah.
Ooh. I had to slip that in there.
Yeah.
Yeah, but he puts like a lot of emotion in, and you see like the reaction between him and Joy. Like Joy is trying to be, like add a little bit of like something different for him, right? And it's giving that the personality to him. So like that relationship, I believed it was true, in my opinion. Like I felt like that was.
I think we were supposed to buy it. I definitely bought it. Yeah, but. My God, they definitely swept me, that under the rug.
Yeah, we'll get to my feelings about it later on, because near the end of the movie, I have something to say about that. But go ahead.
Actually, I was actually going to wait for this point right till the end, because I think things do sort of tie up once he figures out a couple of things at the end of the movie about himself and his humanity or lack thereof and who he is and all that kind of thing. So I'll sort of keep this so like really what it is, and I want to just finish this idea later, is that does it really matter if the relationship was real or was real or not?
Oh,
that's the point I was going to bring up because it was going to tie into the end. But
So you know what? We'll save that to that. We'll talk about it.
Definitely.
All right. So he goes to, is it Las Vegas or is it a new different city?
When he meets Deckard?
Yeah. That's in Las Vegas, right?
It's in Las Vegas.
So he goes to Las Vegas. Amazing cinematography.
That's my screensaver, by the way.
It's
my screensaver on my computer.
A desolate, like, post-nuclear...
When he's,
like,
that shot where it's behind his back and he's walking through that
desolate...
That's my background on the computer.
I mean, it's supposed to be kind of, like, sad and, like
it's really
horrifying.
The amazing part about it is that he walks with such caution.
Yes.
And like that was such an amazing part of the direction because I heard an interview with Denis Villeneuve and he's telling Ryan Gosling they did 6 takes or apparently more than 6 takes where he's like telling him walk slower. Yeah. And it adds so much to the movie.
It's really
like
cool.
Walking again. Yeah.
I've noticed with Elle there's like a certain theme in the things that he likes. I know this isn't from the movie, but still, I mean, seriously.
Well, explain what you're showing us.
You guys can't see it, but
how about you explain it? Go ahead.
No, go ahead.
It's all about you, brother.
Okay, you guys can't see it, but my WhatsApp profile picture is a shot of it's like a painting of Kay, his back and his spinner, and the replicant and the at Los Angeles in 2049. So
his spinner is his vehicle, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
The vehicle. Yeah. So yeah,
it looks great.
So we're in Las Vegas. He meets up with Deckard. They have a little bit of a confrontation at first in a really cool what's it called?
Casino.
Casino with
Elvis.
With Elvis.
Yeah.
With those holographic Elvis.
It was
so cool.
Amazing.
So cool.
It really was amazing.
And then
I heard a lot of people saying they don't understand. I heard some reviews saying they don't understand why Deckard is instantly gonna fight Kay, and it never made sense to me because of course Deckard doesn't want to be found, and he hasn't seen anybody in apparently a long time. The first person that he does see is a Blade Runner.
Yeah,
of course he's gonna freak out and fight.
Of course. So they have a bit of an altercation. Then they start talking, and then Deckard tells him a little bit about Rachel, his mom, quote unquote, and then but then we forgot to mention earlier that there's this underground resistance of replicants.
That happens later on.
No,
but you don't know who they are until later on, though.
Yeah, that's true. But I mean,
we missed
the spoiler. This is a spoiler review.
True, but we did skip over one really crucial scene,
which is
the. Wait, does that happen before or after? No, this happens before when Kay quote unquote loses his virginity.
Oh yeah, when
he meets. That is our introduction.
Let's save that though.
That is but that is our introduction to the Resistance because that is the first time that we do see them.
That is true. And
that's the first time we come up with them because when Kay is out eating and he's looking at the pictures, he is met by
replicant prostitutes.
Replicant prostitutes. But before they go up to him, they're told to go up to him by the shadowy figure.
Because he's the one who killed Sapper Morton.
Yeah, that's the Blade Runner. They're told that's the Blade Runner that killed Sapper Morton.
Yeah.
Go find out what he knows, and they see the picture of replicants.
Yes.
And before that, when him and his captain are talking, they're having a drink.
Yes.
She hits on him, and this is one really great scene because it shows that it shows a confusion and sort of an awkwardness to Kay because he doesn't know how to deal with someone doing that.
It's when the captain says like, "What do I do? What happens when I finish this drink?"
Exactly. It's because he's like, "Can I just go back to work now?" It's like this. Yeah. It's such a because in his face and in the way that he says that, it shows like he's an awkwardness and like a. It really does feel like like you're seeing a kid for the first time.
Because he can't say no.
Well, he can't say no, but he doesn't know. You don't know if he's more interested because
he's definitely not interested.
No,
that was a defensive like this is your boss and you don't want to offend your boss.
In a scene where he's talking to Joy not Joy, when they're talking to Joy, he asks him, "Do you not prefer your madam?" And he's like, "You were listening to that."
Yeah.
So I don't know if I felt like it was a scene like he was just awkwardly trying to avoid that because he doesn't know how to act in that situation, as anybody who's never been in that kind of situation would obviously be somewhat hesitant or afraid or have nerves, obviously because it's natural.
I guess so. I think it's less about him and it's more about that he's property, he's a slave, and it's kind of talking about how like she says, earlier she said, are you saying no to me? By the way, I feel like we're talking a lot. What do you guys think about that scene?
I think there's like very little left to be said after all of that, to be honest.
Well, there's another scene where we didn't say that much. Go ahead.
It doesn't feel like an ad, but like because there's these other parts that I really want to sort of share about. But
okay, let's continue with the recap then. So
and then Joy unknowingly invites one of the replicant prostitutes. One of the replicant prostitutes, and then Kay, she merges with him. Her holographic image merges with her real body.
Yeah. And
Kay at first is really freaked out because he doesn't know. Again, that's why I feel like it's a really awkward situation with him and Joshi, because she's hitting on him and he doesn't know, and he's never been in that kind of situation before, and he doesn't know how to deal with it. Yeah. And at first, when she's like, "I know this is what you want," he's like, "You're enough for me," and he says it in this way that's he's really, really frightened in a way. Or not frightened, but he's really, really nervous he's really nervous to say the least. Yeah. Yeah. And that's when that happens, and then that's when they go off to Las Vegas.
Moving on, so she puts a tracker in his jacket.
She puts a tracker in his jacket. Yeah.
So and then what's her name? Love finds that Kay has found Deckard, and she sends in a squad of people to beat the crap out of them. She kidnaps Deckard. She kidnaps Deckard, leaves Kay there, kills Joy.
Yes,
which is a wicked scene, and then
not wicked, sad. Sad scene.
True,
wicked in its original sense, as in evil.
Yes, yes.
Wicked, and what was the line that she said? She said, she said some sort of like she has really cool one-liners.
Thank you for buying our product.
Yeah, I hope you found our product.
Yeah, and that's how she. I hope
you found our product satisfactory, and she stepped on her.
Yes.
Oh, by the way, we got to talk about Love later because Love, she's really interesting. So because of the tracker, the underground resistance finds Kay. They patch him up. They tell him, we helped smuggle this baby, and we need to find her, and it's a she. And then this is when he has the realization that he is not the one. And even she's kind of like, you thought it was you? It's like, all of us wish it's us, right?
Yeah.
But it's definitely she. I was there.
Yeah.
It's definitely not you.
I dressed her in blue, yeah.
Yeah, I dressed her in blue. And then... So then now he's kind of heartbroken. And she says, you need to help us. You need to kill Deckard so that so they don't use him to find the child and ruin the reputation, the hope for all replicants, because dying for a cause is what it means to be human, right?
Yeah.
So we'll get back to what it means to be human in this. So then he goes and has this really sad walk in the rain where he sees that Joy hologram. And not only did he he's on the run, he lost his job, his old life is gone. Not only did he find out that he's not the special one at all, he's just a regular replicant, but also the only other thing that was good in his life, his relationship with Joy, is just dissolving in front of him because this hologram repeats the same words that she said to him. And the slogan, as Hamid here mentioned, the slogan for them is whatever it is that you want, or whatever you want to hear.
Whatever you want to see.
Whatever you want to hear, whatever you want to see. So...
And she even looks at, and that hologram even tells him, like at the beginning, Joy gives him a name. She tells him, you don't have to be called Kay anymore. You can be called Joe.
Yes.
And that replicant, and that hologram says, you look like a good Joe.
Not even just Joe, but she even says, what a day, which is exactly what she said when he came. So every tender moment that we had with them leading up to this is just part of her programming.
Yeah.
Yes.
Right?
But I felt
this dead stare for like a couple of seconds too, where for like a second everything was just sinking in.
Yeah, he's just like standing there.
Yeah.
But I felt like in how I kind of interpreted it was that like Joy was the same, like she was the same until he removed her from her shackle. So I felt that when he removed her from the shackle, she then evolved. So I felt that she did change. Like she was, the same, and she was programmed like that. But I felt that because he bought that other thing to bring her out, then she was able to change and evolve because now she's not shackled to one area. She can grow and be her own thing. So I felt that she did grow, and then she died. But like, I felt during that time she was her own entity. So those were the two divisions, where she was a machine that was like built, programmed to be like that, to care, to say those words. But then I felt that she did change, because like when she's about to hit and crash it, she showed emotion towards Kay. So, you know, like she did show like,
I love you, her last words.
Yeah. So she showed a lot of like emotion, right? Where like, you know, like I felt like
before that
she kind of like she's just built like as a robot strapped in.
I don't know, man. She had some pretty emotional scenes when she's out in the rain for the first time. Well, I guess that's actually
I really love that scene. Yeah.
Actually, you know what? Maybe you have a point there.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, I do feel that. Yeah, she did evolve.
But I think if you're gonna look at it like just straight from like a program's perspective, it's like now she's got new stimuli that she has an opportunity to react to given her programming.
Right? Yeah.
So we don't know what programming she was like. This idea of her sort of growing out of her program and then having like, you know, a miraculous baby or a miraculous emotion born out of her. It's just that I think that it brings us to this idea though, that does it really matter? Because really the question is, and we're going to go straight into, can we go into his humanity right now?
Sure.
Because we're nearing the end of the plot anyway. So
yeah.
So, it doesn't matter.
I mean,
basically, there's a big fight in a shore, like by some water, and
Kay gets his butt handed to him. Pretty convincingly too.
Yeah.
And then Kay does this like this you know,
reversal.
Darth Vader. Up in the air, down to the ground.
He doesn't quite do a forced choke.
Then they go back the next day. Deckard meets his daughter. Kay dies. The end. So okay, humanity.
Yes. So after he sort of so he goes in the water, he like kills her like Jaws, and then he does Darth Vader, everything, and then so we go to meaning, right? He brings his father figure, who he thought he was, to his real daughter. Then he sits there, and then just, you know, the snow's coming down, and we're thinking now, all right, well, I'd be thinking probably if I was, all right, like, so am I human? Would I be more human if I'm able to sacrifice? I think this really goes down to the idea of nihilism in philosophy. So being nihilistic pretty much, or like nihilism pretty much means that nothing matters, right? Nothing really matters. And so if you don't have like an external source of your meaning in life, you either just get out there and just take whatever you want to satisfy yourself with whatever means necessary, or you make your own meaning to life. And I think that that's really what they, because a human being would sacrifice themselves if they made meaning in something that became larger than themselves, but it was by choice.
Yeah.
So robot can sacrifice themselves if they were programmed to do so, but a human being is the only creature, quote unquote, to be able to sacrifice themselves for something that they have chosen is larger, bigger, more meaningful than their own little life.
Yeah.
And so when it comes to, so going back to the issue of joy, like, and was that relationship real? The way that I think about it, I don't really think that it matters as much in that situation, because at the end of the day, she had she was programmed in a certain way, but for him it was real. It was real, like, and he gave him what he needed in the moment. After that, her time ended, right, and he had to grow to the next level. It was just pretty much a human being maturing from one stage to the next, and then continuously renewing their idea of meaning.
And I agree with you, because that's why I feel like that's a huge major theme in this movie is, which it's a huge major theme in the movie, which progresses from the first film, because the first film is a big question. In the first film is, what is the difference between a replicant and a human?
Exactly.
In this film, there's a progression there, and it's asked and I feel like it asks the question of, does it really matter anymore? If they can give birth, does it matter anymore? If they can show emotion like that, does it really matter anymore if it's artificial? Yes. That's why how I agree with Mo here.
That first movie, what I really liked about that is that they're making like a very clear statement with that all the replicants acted very human, very emotional. And all the humans in that movie acted like robots.
Yes.
Like all the movies, all the characters, Deckard, very much robotic, very much like not really emoting that much. Even Rachel, when she thought she was human, acted like a robot. When she found out she's a replicant, all of a sudden she seems like a person, right?
I think that's when she started getting emotional about certain things more so.
Absolutely. As soon as she found out she's a replicant, all of a sudden her hair's down, she's messy, she has emotions, she's thinking, she like looks like a real person. Like even the way she's made up. She's not wearing that like slick back hair with the shoulder pads. She's not walking all robotically. So in that movie, it was very clear that you call these replicants, they don't have a soul, they're not human, yet look at the way they're acting. Look at the way they are. They're more human than the humans, right? And in this movie, they took that concept and then made it more nuanced. And I'm not saying it's better. What I'm saying, it's building off the first one. So in this one, everybody is trying to figure out what it means to either be human or they call it different things, to have a soul, to, you know, like they all decide what it means to have that. For example, for Wallace, it's to have, and not just for Wallace, for a lot of people, it's the ability to give birth, right? For other people, it's freedom, right? Like when Joy, she gets freedom, there's a cost to it, which she can die. And she's like, yeah, just like a real girl. Like I'm going to die, I can die like a real girl, right? So she gets that freedom. Getting your name is another sign of kind of like
showing love or emotion.
Showing love or emotion, right?
Yes.
And speaking of love, I'm like I think that's the character at the beginning. I didn't have her figured out, and the more I rewatch this movie, the more I think about it, the more I love that character. Do you guys remember when she is in the files and she's showing Kay the footage of Rachel, and she says Rachel likes him, and he's like, how can you tell? She's like, it's nice to be asked personal questions. It makes you feel desired. And then she asks him a personal question. She's like, do you enjoy your work? And he shuts her down. He's all like, I think we're done here or whatever. Like, so she like was trying to have that connection with him, and she was shut down. Like I
never considered that. Yeah,
I love those moments. Like I have to pause and rewind, and I'm like, there's something here, right? And so love for her meaning in life is to basically be the best. She's in love with Wallace. I think that's what I think it is. So he called her love, and maybe he even programmed her to be in love with him. But she does everything for him, so much so that she has this like jealousy. I don't know if you guys would agree with this, but so when the new angel, the new replicant is born, she cries because look at how he's kind of like revering this new one. And then she's not able to, the replicant's not able to give birth, so he slices her in her stomach where her womb is, and he's like, listen, this is a failure, this is not what I want. And then when she comes up with that, when she confronts the madam, and she crushes her hand with that whiskey glass, and she's like, you tiny thing, like you're going against Wallace, you're going against his ambitions, you're going against like the progress that he believes in, that she believes in. It's like, you tiny thing. And then she's like, do you think that we all just tell the truth? You know, I'm gonna lie to my boss, but not out of like I hate him, but out of like I want to be his favorite.
Not out of defiance, out of
love, right? And then she cuts her in her stomach, the same place that Wallace cut that other replicant.
Yes, yeah.
And then at the end, when she knocks out Kay and thinks that he's dead, what does she say? She says, "I'm the best one." So she's like, "I'm going to be the best one for Wallace." So everyone has their own definition of what it means. And then memories is another thing.
It's a huge problem.
It's a huge thing, right? Like if you have memories, it's real, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
If you can remember something, it's real. Anyway. But like I love how everybody in this movie has their own nuanced way of being human and having a soul, quote unquote.
But I think it's like so building on what you're saying is that all these experiences are just another piece of the puzzle of the human experience.
Absolutely.
Altogether. And so there is actually nothing here in this movie that says that they don't all have the ability to have all those experiences.
Yes.
But it's just in the same way that each one of us here lives like in a different place, works a different job, so we get to see different facets of this human experience. But if we were to change places and communicate and talk to each other, we get glimpses of that, and we grow our own understanding of the human experience in its entirety. And one thing though, and it seems to me like the problem with replicants is that they're stuck in a childhood.
Yes.
Where you look up to your parents to give you that what's the word, that confirmation, right? Confirm to me that I'm I'm an adult and I'm doing it the right way, so that you can look to me as a peer finally, right?
Absolutely.
So once you look to me as a peer, and then I'm now part
approval.
For exactly
Sorry,
approval,
yeah,
right?
Go ahead, yeah.
And when I have that approval, then I can, and we're both adults together, we can actually help each other with decision making. So I'm not one of your decisions now. I'm sitting with you on the table, and we're making decisions together. You're taking my advice, I'm taking your advice, and now I know that I've succeeded in becoming an adult, and you don't have authority over me anymore. We're part of the same team. Now, I feel that most replicants have that one thing that unites them all, and they all somehow exhibit it in some way, like love, and the love for her master. The other guy, Kay, and his dad, and him being what? So it's this idea of not being enough. And then all of a sudden, they realize, or some of them do, that hey, you know what? I don't. It's not a condition. All that it is really, it's my own mindset.
Absolutely.
Yes.
If I change that mindset myself, I don't have to wait for anybody else's approval, and it becomes completely inconsequential.
Exactly. Yeah.
And it happens throughout the movie a lot. Kay doesn't exhibit free will until he finds out that he's a real boy, you know?
Yes.
And his biology didn't change. Nothing about him changed except that he had this change in mindset.
Yes.
And he lies for the first time, and he has ambitions for the first time, and he does things for the first time, right? Same thing with like a lot of other characters. They don't, in the first movie, Rachel didn't act like a human until she found out she was a replicant. All of a sudden her whole, so I think what Muhammad's saying is spot on. It's not about biology. So all these people are trying to figure out, do replicants have souls? Are they real people? And the answer is, well, if they are allowed to have the freedom to think that they're real people, then they can be.
And that's what, and we in the first book, it's in the first book. In the first movie, it's I don't remember his name. Descartes, the philosopher back in who questioned his own existence.
Oh,
that all relates
Descartes.
Yes, that relates to his own idea, where he's like, I think, therefore I am.
Exactly.
But and when he was questioning his own existence, he said, you know, how do I know that what I'm going through is real, or how do I know that how do I know that anything around me is real? Because my senses can be fooled. But if I can feel it and I can taste it, that's enough for me. You know. I think
yes.
And that's relates to that idea as well.
Did you notice that also when Sapper Morton, Bautista's character, when he's like, you haven't witnessed a miracle. So he didn't say like, you haven't understood that your biology is different. He says you haven't seen this thing. So he had a change in perspective, seeing the potential of replicants, right? Yes. And then the resistance, all of them, they say like they have this kind of cult of people that believe this resistance because of this child. It wasn't before because they have. So there's nothing innate about being human. I think that's the core of what Muhammad was saying. Yes. There's nothing innate about being human, but it's just this dynamic of how we put each other down and how we frame things.
Yeah, and well, like the first movie and this movie had like different had like really good lines too, right? Like when the villain in the first one, when he died, he was just like, I've seen things. I've seen like ships be destroyed in like the rings of Jupiter. I've seen all this, and it's now all going to be gone, right?
Like
and
tears
then
in the rain.
Yeah, like. And so then they kind of carried on to this movie, and this movie had like different lines too. And like the best thing about this movie is like when you watch it, you have to watch it like a couple times. It's one of those, like the same thing as the first one and the second one. Every single time you watch it, you're going to see something different. You're gonna pick something up that you didn't the first time. And I like it. Like, you see some movies now, like, well, you're going to watch it, well, it's going to be the same. There's
no rewatchability.
Yeah, there's not a lot of meaning to it, but something like this, which is so intricate, right? And, like, there's not a lot of characters that you really need to remember. There's just the key characters in there, and the interactions are very they have different meaning to it, and that's what I like about this movie. Is like every single time, and anyone who watches it gets something different, right? So we all watched it, but we all pulled something totally different from this movie, which we I didn't know, and then I was like, oh, I understand that now, right? So this movie is like one of those movies that is a masterpiece for its time. Like I think this movie is going to be, it's going to hold up, and it's going to be like some people's favorites, right?
Absolutely.
And but I've heard people who they watched the first one, they didn't like it because it was too slow, and I'm like, well, this one's slow too, but I felt like it was almost the same as the first one, where it was slow and then it picked up and there was action near the end. So it was almost the same thing as the first one. The first one didn't have the first hour. It was just story, right? It was built up a story, and then there was action. It's the same as this movie. It was it's a slow ramp. It's about music. The music plays an integral part. One of my favorite scenes is when he's getting tested. Yeah. And they're asking those questions, and then it's a silent room, eerie, and then you hear this little kind of sound. It's like ee, and it's just slowly getting louder and louder, and the questions get more intense, and then it just stops, and then the sound goes away, and then you're like, oh, okay, and it goes back to normal. But their use of music and voice commands and everything makes it feel more visceral, yeah. So when they're chasing after Deckard, that the music was playing, and I remember sitting there watching it, music's playing, and it's they're going through the rain, and they're trying to capture each other, Kay's trying to capture Deckard, and it's very the music is very loud, and then even the fight scene, even when he's choking Love, it's the music is very integral, and it kind of it's an emotion, kind of puts you into that state, right, that he's feeling.
No, absolutely. You guys, the scene in the casino with the Elvis and how the music will cut in and out.
Yes,
I was blown away in the theaters. I'm like, and it's so irregular, and it would just show up and it wouldn't, and then Elvis would be here and then Elvis would be there, and it's not scary, but it's really suspenseful, and it's really just so cool.
And it adds a lot to the scene. What T was saying is that a lot of people see this movie in the original as sort of a slow burn.
Yes,
I feel that both the original, especially the original, it's a really sort of meditative experience, especially in terms of how the audience is perceiving, how the audience is watching the movie, and also for the characters as well, because they are going through essentially an existential crisis. Yeah. And same with this movie, it is really a meditative experience where you're feeling how the characters are going through, and you're questioning it the same way that the characters are going through. So I feel like the pace really adds to that. Really adds to that effect.
No, absolutely.
In some sort of way.
Let me bring up this topic next. So, a big fan theory, which then was confirmed by Ridley Scott about
quote unquote.
He straight up said it.
True, but
he's a bit of a troll, maybe.
Yeah, Ridley Scott's interesting.
I think he went out and said that. Deckard's a replicant, but
no, but I feel like the way that I saw that.
He was kind of trolling. He looked at the camera, he was looking away, and he's like, if you ask me, and then he looks at the camera, he's like, he's a replicant. Yeah,
I straight up, I think he was just. I think he's trolling. I also am. I hold fast to the idea that the author has no. The author's word means nothing. So.
Until he writes it into
really enjoys the idea that with one or two words he just. Yes. He spits out in the crowd people are going to be talking about for the next 30 or 40 years.
Well,
I think Ridley Scott, probably barely being involved with this movie is the best thing to happen to this movie.
I disagree wholeheartedly.
I
think he's one of the greatest directors ever.
That's totally fine. That's totally fine.
I feel like,
but a real director, Denis Villeneuve. Okay. I'm kidding. I'm not going to disrespect him like that. I'm just kidding. But
Granted, he has a very high opinion of himself too, and it's amazing. But
I don't mind people who are confident in their own abilities. Like I kind of like that as long as they're not putting other people down, right?
Yeah.
And I don't think he does that.
No, he doesn't. But he
is
very, very aware that he is Ridley Scott, and it is incredible.
He is
in the best way.
He is a big proponent of big budget movies. I saw him at a round table talking with Blumhouse guy, Jason Blum.
Yeah.
And it's really interesting to see those two interact. One guy known for big budget, huge sci-fi spectacle, and then the other one known for like small, like low budget, get her done, but big returns kind of movies.
Yeah.
And the two of them talking money, about budgets and stuff like that. And like, it's almost like Ridley Scott cannot understand the concept of making a movie on a budget. Like Jason's like, oh yeah, you just make it for this cheap and have this and knock it out in this many weeks. And he's like, but how can you do that? How do you work around the unions? How do you how's that even possible? Like he can't go in his mind that you can make a low budget film, which is I think is awesome.
But I feel like I think was that the Hollywood Reporter?
Yes.
Yeah, I saw that roundtable too, and he was also talking about The Martian, and he also talked about how it was made for like about 30, 40, 60 million, something like that.
Oh, was it that cheap?
I think it was something like that.
Oh wow,
and
that's really good.
And it grossed like 400 or something like that. Yeah. And he's like, that's how you do budget.
Yes.
And that's what I feel like is a lot of Ridley Scott's strengths production wise, is that he knows how to spend his money wisely.
Was it 30, 40? Because that's mid range. That's not even big budget.
It was like 60 something. 60,
damn, that's really good.
And he made for like 400, and he's like, that's how you budget, because that's how you make.
And it looked great.
Yeah, it looked great too.
Right? Have you guys seen The Martian?
Yes. Yeah. Read both the book and seen the movie.
Oh really?
I personally liked it. A lot of people.
I like the movie. I read the beginning of the book, and I thought the protagonist was a lot more charming in the book.
Yeah.
I don't think Matt Damon was the best guy to play him, but he did a great job. Like I'm not gonna knock down because he's not as good as someone in the book.
Yeah.
Hey, guess who was the producer of that?
Oh, Ridley Scott.
Yeah, no, he was the director.
Who was the producer?
Just guess.
Jason Blum.
No, Jason Blum. That would be hilarious. Who?
It's your favorite director of your favorite movie coming up.
A favorite movie coming up.
Yeah, X-Men Dark Phoenix.
Oh, Simon Kinberg.
Simon Kinberg. He was a producer on The Martian.
Executive producer?
Just produced by.
Did it say executive next to his name?
No.
Oh, well, his name is in everything. Like obviously, if you got like someone like Ridley Scott directing it, I don't think Simon Kinberg is going to really step on his toes. But
and Ridley Scott, he prides himself on never letting that happen to him.
No,
which is like
he wouldn't.
Insane.
Yeah. But anyway, so what I was trying to get.
Can we talk about the original for a second? Before you want to get into that point forward, can we talk about the original?
Let's talk about the original.
Okay. It's one of my favorite movies of all time. The coolest thing about it is that this movie predates CGI in films.
Yes.
There's no CGI in this movie. Everything is built practical. And it still looks to me. It still looks incredible today.
It looks amazing.
It still puts a lot of films, I think, to shame. It's amazing. But the thing is and this is kind of when Ridley Scott kind of decided he's not going to take crap from people anymore. Is that when it was released at the end, when Deckard and Rachel go run off together, there's like this mountain range. And they show like a forest, and that's not scenes that he shot. That's actually just scenes from The Shining. That's extra footage from The Shining. Oh, yeah. Because it was the hotel sequence of The Shining was shooting like 10 kilometers away from the set of Blade Runner, and they just used that, which I thought was a little funny tidbit.
Did you guys see like the shorts that they did before?
I did. Yeah. 2 of them suck, and they don't have any consequence at all. But one of them has a really interesting significance, I think, to 2049, and also it shows the impact of Blade Runner as a whole, because it's directed by Shinichiro Watanabe, who's the director of Space Dandy, Samurai Champloo, and Cowboy Bebop. And a lot of fans of Cowboy Bebop will tell you that one of the most interesting things about Cowboy Bebop, or one of the most memorable things about Cowboy Bebop, is the music. Yeah. And it's jazz music in a sci-fi setting, and those two things should not work, but they do work so well.
Yeah. Which one are you talking about?
I'm talking about 2046 Blackout. That one.
Oh, well, I like the other ones because like I like that too. Like I like that story too.
Yeah.
But those two actually like made kind of like tied into his story. I actually like that being in there because like you kind of see where David Bautista's character, how he got found out.
Yeah, and this one does. Yeah. This one has a bigger. This one has a tie into the story too because it's the story of the replicants breaking into the memory center and blowing it up and causing this huge electric mechanism.
Wasn't it a human who did it?
It was it was two replicants.
Oh,
Wikipedia lied to me. It was one that was in the who?
Wikipedia lied to me. Oh. They said the replicants were blamed, but it was actually a human that pulled the trigger.
No, it was three replicants. One that was working on the inside, and two that were working on the outside. Okay. And they caused this electromagnetic shock, and they erased all their memories of all the records of every replicant.
Yeah.
And that's when the blackout occurred. But it's interesting that it was directed by Shinichiro Watanabe because you can see a lot of Cowboy Bebop and Space Dandy were really influenced by the original Blade Runner. I feel.
Yeah.
Because of the certain elements that are combined together in both those projects.
I have a question, actually.
Shoot.
What do you think the cultural impact was, if there was one, from the first movie on the genre or the culture up until now? And what do you think might change about that since 2049?
That's a really good point, but go ahead.
Like, a lot of people watched it, and they talk about it like, that rape scene in the first one.
Oh, fantastic! But okay,
people talk about that, right? Like, and there's different meanings to it, and then like this movie has different things too. Like, people are gonna talk about that sex scene between him and Joy. People are gonna talk about that, and people are gonna talk about like the different things in there, right? So. Like, they both have, like, very big impact on sci-fi. Like, I think this was a big, kind of like a big push forward for sci-fi. And especially on even can't remember his name, like the person who wrote the book.
Philip K. Dick.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So some of his stuff is being made more into.
He's a very special human being, which is my PC way of saying that he dropped a lot of acid. Yeah. He admits it too. Yeah. And you can totally tell in the book, like, this guy must have been high.
But he's making some, like, he made some like really cool stories, and then they're actually looking into that right now. They're doing
they're gonna adapt them.
No, they are adapting it right now because he has a show called Electric Sheep or something like that.
Something like, I can't remember exactly what it's called, but I know it has Brian Cranston in it that's being made.
By
Amazon.
Yeah, so it's
based off Bill Kidd.
Yeah, it's currently made, and like I haven't seen it. I want to see it because like I'm a big fan of, like, I don't know, I like sci-fi.
Yeah.
And I like sci-fi is one of my favorite genres, right? Because it's that and space operas, space operas are so good. But like they're interesting to see, like because I think that also like kind of pulls on you on a person who wants to see the future, right? Like this movie, like Blade Runner 2049, like we don't have androids now, but it's just kind of like makes us think, like, if we do have androids, and we have, because we're moving in that path where like technology's
AI is not
evolving.
Fiction. It's becoming it's more and more becoming a reality, and that's
so like I feel like in a couple of years it's going to get to a point where technology is going to be like take off, right? It's going to be its own thing. But like I'm not going to say we're going to have like
in a couple of years will be considered like some like historical anthropological piece about how human beings looked at the reality that will be then. So they'll be listening to us like, wow, look at these people, like, just imagining what we have right now. Sorry, go ahead, I cut you off.
Yeah, but I don't think we're going to be like, we're going to be going around with androids, or if we do, it's not going to be like, someone's going to send back John, or like Kyle Reese, and then I'm gonna make.
I don't think time travel was on the table, but I guess
you know what? That'd be cool.
But I know this is completely irrelevant to what we're talking about now, but like, how crazy was it? It was like, hey man, you're my best buddy. You're gonna go back into the past and have sex with my mother and give birth to me.
Man.
Wait, how messed was that?
Did you watch the first Terminator movie?
Yeah, the very first one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I like when I was really young.
Okay, that happens in the first Terminator movie.
Yeah, so he sends. So John Connor is like the resistance leader.
Yeah,
he sends his second in command, Kyle Reese,
to go back
and
give birth to him.
To impregnate his mother with him.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
Wow.
Anyway, that's a completely different.
That's a completely different ballgame.
But do you want to go or? What? No, go. You go ahead. I'm gonna go on a really long tangent about this.
Go for it.
Okay, he asked. There was a question posed about the impact of Blade Runner.
Yes.
The original film. I feel like it didn't. I don't know if I would say that it invented the genre of cyberpunk, the subgenre of cyberpunk.
Oh.
But I do feel like it had. I can't deny that it had a huge impact.
It kicked it off. It made it mainstream.
Exactly. It made it mainstream, and it influenced Western media as well as Eastern media.
100%.
To terrible and great effects, because for every Ghost in the Shell there is a what is it called?
Acura?
No. Whoa. There is a I can't remember. There's an altered carbon. Let's go ahead then.
Altered carbon. Is altered carbon bad?
It was not bad. I haven't seen it. I didn't think it was bad, but like, I don't know. Like for me, I liked it. Like people were like, so with reviews now on Netflix, I'm very irritated with because they'll put these. They're like, oh, this movie was not good. Da da da. Like sometimes the reviewers are correct. Anon wasn't that great, but when I watched Altered Carbon, I loved it. I enjoyed it.
Nice.
And it's just because of there's an Asian lead and he was dope. But it was a very enjoyable TV series, right? Some people didn't like it, but like if you should watch it because it's good. It's different. Right?
But there's an anime that escapes my brain right now, but it's really really terrible because it's very very convoluted.
But it's influenced,
and it's heavily influenced by Blade Runner. You can tell, and and also we said Cowboy Bebop as well. I feel like Cowboy Bebop has a huge Blade Runner influence.
Oh, of course.
And again, for every Cowboy Bebop and Ghost in the Shell, you have a Blade Runner.
Sixth Sense.
Sixth Sense.
No, Fifth Element. Sorry.
Fifth Element, yeah. Which I know a lot of people like. I don't like that much. If anybody puts Blade Runner in the same breath as that horrible Chris Pratt movie with the aliens in it, I'm not going to say its name because I'm not going to put it in the same breath as it. You know what I'm talking about. I'm not putting it in the same breath as Blade Runner. But again,
he didn't say what quality stuff came out of it. Just what cultural.
I know
influence.
but I'm just being a jerk. But that's what I feel like. That's the impact of Blade Runner, and also again with the Cowboy Bebop reference that has a lot of jazz in it, which the original score made brilliantly by Vangelis, where it has these stints that play jazz melodies on it, and it fits so well with the movie. And that's one of my gripes with Blade Runner 2049, and this is what I'll get into.
One of my gripes is they didn't have Baker Street in it. I mean, that's...
Well,
come on.
Of course. Well, one of my gripes with Blade Runner 2049 is that early in the production, the late Johan Johansson was fired, and Hans Zimmer was brought on, and he did the score, and while I like Hans Zimmer's scores, they're kind of a mixed bag for me. I felt like it totally was misplaced in this movie, completely, because it has this grandiose. He plays these really based up synths and they have this really grandiose scale to them, and it just didn't fit with this movie. And the thing is that, and I'll go into this with the trailers with this movie. And I know a lot of people don't like watching trailers. I know Mo doesn't like watching trailers at all.
I try my best.
Yeah, but with this movie, the trailers to me are amazing because they don't show you anything.
Nice.
And they don't even say, like, I didn't know Kay was a replicant until I saw the movie.
Yeah, exactly.
They don't even show you that.
They hit all of that.
Yeah, and they hit that in the marketing. That's what I felt was brilliant about the marketing, and also what I felt may have hurt it, because that's what I heard Denis Villeneuve even said, because he said there was a bit too much mystery and people didn't appreciate that. Which I felt like, why wouldn't you appreciate that? Because isn't that to build?
But it was already a franchise, like as brilliant as that first movie was. It is a flop. It has 5, 6, 7 different cuts.
Yes.
It is 3 hours long.
It's 2 hours long.
Is it 2?
Yeah.
I thought it was 3 hours long.
No, it's only 2 hours.
Okay. It feels like 3 hours long.
Okay,
right?
Fine.
And so it is very inaccessible. It is very.
It is
very
inaccessible. I will agree with you
right?
there. It is very inaccessible.
And the influences, like the pieces of media that are influenced by this, are way more popular than the original, right? So it was already hampered. So when you have a very mysterious ad campaign, like what do you expect? What do you expect? This movie was doomed. It's just I'm just glad that it was like a masterpiece. And whatever, like they lost $100 million, whatever.
Yeah, but the thing is, it's like
that thing that had the nerve to call itself Ghost in the Shell. That's what I was thinking. That there was a horrible crap thing that had the nerve to call itself Ghost in the Shell, and it's clearly influenced by the look of the original Blade Runner, not this Blade Runner. But what I'm going to talk about, the original for 2049, that's one of the flaws that I have with it, because if you ask me, do I think this is better than the original Blade Runner? Yeah. My short answer to that is no. My long answer is yes. They're too different. They are too different to compare, because even this movie is on the base level. It's a very different looking movie than the first movie, and it does a lot of different. And it doesn't try to do its own. It captures the mood of the original movie.
It doesn't copy.
And as much as it honors the world and it builds on the world, it does its own thing.
Yeah, it's not as dirty.
How well did the first movie do?
It flopped.
It flopped because of
Siskel and Ebert give it 2 thumbs down.
Because of who cares about Siskel and Ebert? That sweaty, fat old guy. But I can't stand.
He's not fat anymore, man.
Yeah, he's dead.
No, he's still alive.
No, he died.
Roger Ebert died.
The other one's still alive.
No, Siskel's dead too.
No, they both died.
Wait, what?
Yes.
Yeah.
I thought Roger Ebert.
Are
you sure Roger Ebert?
Michael Jackson and David Bowie are also dead.
Yes. Prince died also. Recently.
Yeah.
And
when did Roger Ebert die?
When did Roger Ebert die?
A while ago.
Almost like 10 years ago. Okay, while he's looking this up.
Anyway. God, my mind's blown.
Again, if you ask me if this movie is better than the original, short answer, no. Long answer, they're too different to compare, because what I appreciate about this movie is that it honors the spirit of the first movie while at the same time doing its own thing.
Oh, yeah, it expands
in the true sense of the word, because a lot of sequels don't say that they're going to do that, but then they just don't. They just try to recapture what's great about the first
Incredibles 2.
Instead of... I haven't seen it yet. Really.
I know. Oh, I was disappointed. The story, but anyway, sorry, I wouldn't mean to tell you anything about it.
No, it's fine. It's fine. But that's what I feel, and that's what I feel like is, besides the score, that is what I feel it's a gripe on this movie. But I don't think it's to this movie's. I don't think it's this movie's fault.
Mm-hmm. Well, see, the thing is, I mean, I think
because it's only a year old, you can't. I don't think it'll have the same impact as the original did.
No.
If we just when we came out of the theater that day, did any of you honestly think that this movie would hit it big at the box office?
I did, because
I thought it would have.
I didn't think it would lose money.
I didn't think it would. I thought it would be moderately successful because it had no competition. There was, especially in that release date. It came out at the beginning of October. Yeah. Nothing was coming out for the next 4 weeks. Yeah. And the next big release was Thor Ragnarok, which was only the 15th or 16th of November, something like that.
See, but the thing
I didn't think it would hit it off big at the beginning, but I thought it'd have legs, and it didn't.
It didn't from the beginning. It didn't have legs.
I think it's just because some people the marketing and the fact that I don't know it's
a tough franchise. It was already a handicap franchise. You're not gonna be able to make miracles out of that. People have already had a bad idea about this franchise to begin with.
So a lot of people who watch the first one, there's a lot of people who a lot of people I know watch the first one and they were like, I don't like the first one, and then they were like, should I watch the second one? And I was just like, yeah, you should watch the second one, because it's a little different and it's really good, right? But then I enjoyed the first one. I liked the first one, and I liked the second one a lot. But then, a lot of people who've seen it, anyone who's seen it has always said good things about the second one, right? They really liked it, they enjoyed it. But I think it's just kind of you're going to have that stigma. It's oh, well, the first one's kind of weird. Why would they make a second one,
Absolutely.
And they're not really...
I was against making a sequel. I was wrong, but...
Yeah, so, that's the mentality of if you didn't want to go see it, right? a lot of people in America, a lot of people in the world are going to probably have the exact same mentality as you, and it's hard for it because then it hinders the movie, right?
Well, I think Mo was hit the nail right on the head because when he said it was inaccessible, because I feel like that's the name of this movie, because like it's really not a lot of people watch the first one. Not a lot of people watch the first one, and also this one is longer than the first one. It's 3 hours long, and it's R-rated, so it already narrows down the audience.
It really narrows down
the audience to the people who love the first one, which not a lot of people saw anyway.
In addition to being like a little bit of a longer movie, it was very expensive to make.
It was very expensive to make, yeah.
And it was the kind of movie that was a meditative movie in an age where people don't have long attention spans, and they need that reward quickly. Now the thing is though, like when I came out, this was obviously to me a movie for a certain type of audience, number one, and number two, an homage for the people that actually enjoyed that kind of thing from the early 80s. Like it was like you need a bit of a timeline to really enjoy this movie, to get the nuances from the first one. It was a meditative experience to whoever had mentioned that first. It's not, and like I really am not surprised at all. I was just happy that I was able to see it in theaters on a huge IMAX screen. Yeah. Really, really enjoy it. Yeah. Really we sat down there and we walked out and we were just quiet for like a second.
Yes.
And then
had to think about it.
Marwan was just kind of looking at me. He was like, "So, what'd you think?" Like, I really, really liked it. And then I'm like, you know what? I liked it too.
I was shocked because I came in with not a lit torch, but like ready to light a torch and with somewhat pitchfork, because if this thing, I told Mo from the beginning, if this thing sucks, I'm never watching a Denis Villeneuve movie ever again. Wow. Because this is, if you shit on Blade Runner, or if you do poorly with Blade Runner, it's a pretty big transgression for me, honestly, personally. And
but he did really well.
Like Denis Villeneuve, like I'm sorry, but I'm buying
every ticket to every movie that he's going to make, and I'm so excited for Dune.
Now, really quickly.
Oh wait, he's doing Dune?
I'm rereading that.
Me too. I'm reading it. Yes, and I can't wait for it.
All right, so I have a bunch of stuff that I wrote down here that I wanted to say. Maybe I can like list off a couple of these really quickly, and maybe you guys can give me your thoughts on it. So we went over how the movie likes to like linger, and like it's so gorgeous that you kind of don't mind like sitting there and watching people's reactions. That every single frame of this movie could be printed as a still and put up on a wall, and it'd be a piece of art. Like it's that good. I like how, especially near the beginning, but pretty much throughout the entire movie, like this movie is like there's so many themes at work, at play, but they never ever forget that every conversation that Kay has with any other character is telling us about him and the difference between what it is to be human and what it's not. Like every single conversation, there's no line of dialogue I think that Kay has with anybody that doesn't inform us about that.
See, this movie is it takes its time, but it's not slow paced. It uses every second wisely. I feel
it's packed. Yes, it's packed with meaning in every single moment.
As much as like people may complain about the runtime, I don't feel that there is a scene that can be cut from this movie.
No,
from this
Final Cut. No, I wouldn't. Like, what scene would you cut?
Yeah, honestly, I feel like it needed to be. I feel like this was the perfect length for it.
There's a few things that I noticed, some really cool imagery, some really cool like irony they put in it, and some really cool like juxtaposition. So they have scenes of people, top-down scenes of people washing their hands and blood and stuff being washed from their hands. So the first one is when Kay kills Sapper, right? So at a replicant's death, you see hands being washed,
and he takes out his eye.
He takes out his eye. But just having his hands washed. That is mirrored later when Wallace kills that other android at her birth and then washes his hand. The exact same, very like almost like a jarring top-down shift in that. You were gonna say something about the eye?
I was gonna say something about that because that's how some of the older replicants did their void camp test, which is through the eye.
Absolutely.
And a lot of people say that the eyes are the window to the soul, which
very much so. Very much so, and that one leader, she took her eye out. She doesn't
have her eye. She doesn't have her left eye.
She's like, "Do you want me to look up and to the left?"
Yes.
Guess what? I ain't got no.
I don't even have an eye.
So they had 3 moments in the movie where people are looking at their hands, and then there's some sort of precipitation falling on it. Mm-hmm. So the first one was with Joy when she first got her freedom, which was one step towards being more human. Mm-hmm. Yeah. She steps outside, and then her digital hand looks at the real rain, and then slowly her digital hand adjusts, and then all of a sudden you could see the rain appear on her hand.
Yes.
The second time was when Kay. The second time was who did it the second time?
The first time was when he owned the rain.
Yeah, it was Joy the first time.
It was Joy the first time. The second time was when Kay died, and the last time was when Anna, when she was doing that at memory. But it wasn't
when
rain.
Kay died.
It wasn't snow. It was rain the first time.
Yeah.
With
Joy.
With Joy.
It was snow the second time with Kay.
When he died, when he was lying down on the steps.
Yes.
But the third time was with Anna when she was playing with a memory.
Yes.
She was also
she was playing with memory, and she had a physical hand, and it's a digital snow that's falling on her hand.
Yes.
Right. And Kay is there. He's a real person with real snow falling on his hand. So you get all like I love when themes are like shown in their full extent, like every version of it.
And it's not in a lesser movie would have done that in a really heavy-handed way. Really, but this is very, very subtle.
Look at this. Yeah.
And very, very nuanced, and that's what I feel.
Did you guys kind of laugh when like she was seeing, like when she was on top of the roof feeling the snow and everything like that, and then she just
froze. She froze when they were about to kiss.
Yeah, it's heartbreaking. Yes. It's like anytime he gets any joy, it's like
and it mirrors the end scene.
Yeah, he gets like this reminder that this isn't actually real, is it? And then he has to kind of decide if it's real later on.
Yes.
By the way, like I do feel that like the whole Joy being real, or like their relationship being real, I think that's part of the nuance of this film that allows you to interpret it different ways. Mm-hmm. It's not very direct, and the way I read it is that she's not. It's just a heartbreaking part of it. Like it's not like I know everything else points to, obviously we think of replicants, like we want to side with the replicants, we want to side with Joy, but at the end of the day, like even her special moments are all pre-programmed. And Muhammad was talking about how the freedom to choose that sacrifice. Did she have the freedom to choose it? She's programmed to do whatever it is for Kay, whatever he wants to hear, and she's never said anything he didn't want to hear.
True, but at the same time, when he wanted to leave her behind when he was about to go see Deckard, she told him, either do this for me or I will unshackle it myself, because she had the ability to do that.
No. She said, I would have done it myself, but I don't have the ability. This is my will, but I don't have the ability.
No, but she say to him, I'll do it myself.
No. She specifically said, I just don't have the ability to do this. If I had the ability, I would have done this. Mm-hmm. And so he had to do it for her.
But again, is that something that he wanted to hear because he wanted to keep her safe?
Yes. No, he wants love. He wants her to be real.
Yes.
Right? She knows this. So she's doing like that's Insidious thing. Like he wants something from her, right? And her programming makes sure that she fulfills it. Mm-hmm. And the way, like, he wants to be a real boy, and she calls him Joe right at the real moment. Like when she finds out, she keeps calling him special.
Yeah.
Like so, there's that. It's not 100%, but the way I read it, it's tragic. She's just a program, and she was kind of a representation of him, right? So if she can be human, if she can be a real person, then of course he can be. But when he finds out that she's not a real person, it's like another nail into the coffin. Like, well, this wasn't real, then I'm probably not real either.
Actually, I actually think it could actually be the opposite, and I'll tell you why. I see your point of view from that perspective, but the reason, so Joy was programmed and designed in a way to keep the replicant somewhat sane, to keep him in his box, right? Because if he was pushed to a certain level of stress, he might come out of himself. He might come out of that little black glass box that he's in. Now, the fact that she stressed him to the point where he would ask these questions that us, suffering different disappointments, things that we don't have control of in our own lives, have to go through as human beings. It pushes him, it stresses him to the point where he must make decisions that are independent of what he was designed to do in his life. And it's part of being human to experience all those things. And you grow at the points where, like, at the limits of things. You grow at where you are stressed, not where you're comfortable. And I think that a lot of that was actually part of his growth and pushing him towards the idea that, you know what, there really is no difference. I mean, I am human if I just choose to be. Can I choose to be or not? And that's it.
But can she choose? He has choices. He makes choices. But like the real question is, can she consent to anything? Can she actually make a choice? Does she have that freedom?
Oh, she's different, but it's not really about her. Because I agree with you.
Okay, if it's not about her, it's about him.
Because I agree with you. Because I don't think Joy is human, but I personally believe that Officer K was human.
So his relationship matters, but the fact that I think he was hoping she'd be a real person, right?
He was hoping.
I think he was hoping
because he's human. He hopes.
Yep.
I feel like he was. I think like he was hoping for more. I think he knew that she wasn't. She was programmed to a degree.
Yes.
But at the same time, he started to let himself
believe that she went beyond her programming.
Which means he deludes himself. Which means he's human.
He's 100% human.
But we're talking about her specifically. And I feel like, again, where I'm going to go, I know this is sounding like a cop out, but I feel like it doesn't really matter because she felt genuine. She was meant to sacrifice herself for him. At the same time, when he was being killed by Love.
And I think you're coming to that conclusion because you're human.
Yeah, and I think she. Yeah. Oh, so I think. Should we?
No, I got a few more things.
You got a few more?
You know what? Okay. We can even split this into a double episode. I wouldn't even mind. How are we on time with you? You're already late, right? All right, then you know what? Maybe let's end it there.
Yeah.
Yeah. Cool.
Should we do a really quick what we watching or what we?
Yeah, let's do a quick what tickles your fancy.
Our segment.
Wow, that's
where we talk about what's
it is very specifically a segment.
Yeah.
Okay.
Where we talk about something that we are into. Wow, that even sounds even worse.
Yeah. So
where's the tickle your fancy?
So I think this right now, same as last week, it's still Megalobox
for you.
For me, because it's ending right now. That's the only reason why I'm saying it, and it's ramping up. It's amazing. You need to watch it. What's yours, Mo?
So what I'm really into right now is The Expanse.
Yeah.
I rewatched this movie, Blade Runner, the same day that I watched the season finale, and Muhammad was there as well, and it was like the best day for sci-fi, the best modern sci-fi ever, all in one day. It's just downhill from here. It's very sad.
Wow! Oh my
god! It's just like what is there left now? I have to wait.
Do you know what's left?
There's gonna be a third Blade Runner movie. Come on, man.
No.
Is there?
Well, it's rumored.
No, it lost too much money to have that. I actually don't want it to be another one. Like
neither do I.
There's
but
too
at the
much.
same time,
there's too much to lose here.
No, this is why I want.
And Dune is still coming.
Yeah.
So
okay, so I have to wait for Dune, and I have to wait for the next season of The Expanse. But in the meantime, I got nothing.
No. Okay. You know what I'm excited for? Just
No,
I'm sorry, but I have to bring this up.
Okay,
I have to bring this up.
Go ahead. You're on
okay. Patrick Stewart coming back to do a Star Trek show.
Is he?
Yeah.
Oh.
No.
I'm excited because that was my favorite.
I heard so many funny jokes about the original, about the Star Trek that's airing right now, that anything comes after it, I'm kind of skeptical about.
It could
and it's from I haven't seen it myself, but they're from a very reliable.
I actually really even haven't seen a ton of the Next Generation, so I don't have as much of an
I love the Next Generation.
Yeah.
So
I'm sure it's great, but I'm not as familiar. So
yeah,
it's not
I understand that. Yeah.
Now if Captain Janeway was coming back, that'd be something.
Janeway and Patrick Stewart, but continue. What's something tickling your fancy?
Well, I have to agree with Muhammad. Like with Mo. Sorry, the Expanse was just therapeutic. Honestly, it was healing. It was therapeutic. It was exciting. It was fascinating. It gave you wonder, hope, all the kinds of emotion that makes you human
until it got canceled.
Tying him back.
But I'm hopeful that when Amazon picks it up, we'll see something good, because I honestly don't know. I fear what might happen in the next season of it. But then other than that,
they're gonna add a talking dog.
I heard rumors that every time Amazon has bought a property, they've upped the budget.
Fantastic. Let's hope that they use some of that budget for like awesome, amazing writers that don't insult your intelligence. Like really, okay? Because
keep the same writers. Just pay them enough and give them enough time, and just don't even mess with what's perfect.
Absolutely, like, because I really like, I haven't. It's hard to like a show this much. Like it's because it's really hard to write a show like this. It's just difficult. So that's one thing. And the other thing, tying with Elle here, is that I'm actually reading Dune.
So nice.
That'll take me hopefully to when the movie comes on.
It's a long.
It's gonna be a long wait.
I'll read it slowly.
Yeah. So
what's tickling your fancy?
Yeah. So
I'm watching. I don't watch a lot of live action television, or live action American television, but things that I'm going to get into currently are Spaced, the Simon Pegg and Nick Frost show that was directed by Edgar Wright.
Yeah.
I'm gonna get into that. Also, I'm watching a sequel to a show that a really, really great sci-fi anime that is equal parts romance, suspense, thriller, and at the same time workplace comedy. But it's called Steins Gate Zero, and it's a sequel to Steins Gate, the original show. I'm also watching Megalobox, like T is, and I'm loving it. I'm also watching My Hero Academia, and I'm also loving it as well. And I'm also going to get into Westworld, and I'm going to start Atlanta soon, the second season, which I haven't started
Atlantis?
yet. Atlanta.
Oh, Atlanta.
Atlanta. I have not seen the second season yet, but I am a big fan of Donald Glover's show. Not anything else that he does, but I am a fan of his show because I feel like he's biting off way more than you can chew with Childish Gambino. But whatever.
Do you know what you need to watch? You need to watch Darling in the Franxx.
What show?
Darling in the Franxx.
Is it good?
It is good. It's kind of weird.
Yeah.
It has some like weird aspects.
Yeah.
But it's like
that's par for the course, man. It's a trigger show. Of course, it's gonna have weird aspects.
It's a mecha anime.
Kill people.
Yes.
I know trigger.
So
come on, I'm not a complete noob.
Well, come on, you gave me that look. Okay.
So it's all mecha.
Yeah.
But it has a lot of different meanings, right? Like when you watch it, you're like, man, and it slowly unravels and you're like, whoa, really? Like, you know, like it kind of like you're asking questions as you're watching this because it's interesting. It goes into the people piloting the mecha. So it's not like purely mecha. There's not a lot of mecha battles. It's about the interactions between the people.
There's just a really awkward sex scene at the beginning. I mean, it's super awkward. I know about that sex scene that happens.
It's not really a sex scene.
Well, it's sort of it's a sex scene. It's a sex scene.
Yeah.
It's very interesting.
Yeah.
No, it's them. Just watch it.
Okay.
Just watch it. Yeah.
All right.
You don't even have to watch the entire thing. Just watch that.
Okay. Well, thank you guys for
that wonderful note.
Yeah.
Wonderful note.
No.
Yeah.
All right.
I want to thank our guests. Thank you guys very much for joining us today.
Our pleasure. I mean, my pleasure. How about you?
It was a pleasure as well.
Okay, cool.
Thanks for listening. And if you want to listen to more and listen to previous podcasts, you can go on to YouTube / The Parking Lot Podcast or on iTunes, The Parking Lot Podcast. Or also, there are some videos from Mo here, which is Hello Maximed. And he has some really good videos that you should take a look. And you have just a new one that you just posted, right?
Oh, yes. Yeah, so if you go to YouTube, type in Hello Maximed, Maxamad, you should find all those videos.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you guys for listening, and we'll hear you next time.